That's a great point. The amount of psychological healing that can result from you radically upgrading your appearance so that you look like what you want is not boundless. And it also requires a certain bit of work on at least two other fronts. One is really kind of doing the inner work of accepting and loving yourself. I have been thinking about potentially going to that next level of surgery and getting my two bottom ribs broken inwards to have an even cooler tie-in between my biceps, triceps, and shoulders, like right this area. And those can actually be kind of furrowed out with surgery. You get a polymer sheath installed around your entire, like a corset sheath, plastic sheath, internal installed, and then it constantly keeps your waist to the size that most people of my leanness have, but I don't because I just have the flabby gut situation.
Okay, so Mike Israetel, our favorite hammer curl hater, has truly lost the fucking plot at this point. I genuinely can't tell if his brain is just rotting from the inside out due to the steroid abuse, or if he just has the worst case of body dysmorphia ever. Mike recently went onto the Dr. Mike's podcast to talk about ugliness and body image and stuff like that. The entire conversation is like 3 hours long, and the amount of crazy shit that Mike Israetel says in this video is just unbelievable. It also really highlights how completely clueless he is. There are multiple times when Dr. Mike asks questions that would make any person with the capacity for even the slightest self-reflection to reconsider their positions and go, maybe I'm falling into this very thing I'm talking about. Maybe I'm contradicting myself. Maybe I have body dysmorphia myself. Mike Israetel does none of this. He lacks even the tiniest sliver of self-awareness.
But by a certain age, if you are not conventionally attractive or at least like decent, you start to learn subconsciously or consciously that all of these things that people live in their lives, romance, interaction, things like that, dating, they're just not for you. And I happen to think that is a giant, first world problem, right? But a giant unmitigated tragedy.
I think this clip really sums up the entire flaw with Mike Israetel's way of thinking. Mike is convinced that people who are what he terms ugly are just really broken and somehow need to be fixed, and the way to fix them is undergo a bunch of surgeries to alter your body until you look like what you want to look like. I don't know what kind of reality that he lives in where ugly people somehow cannot experience things like romance, dating, and love. I think this is an obvious case of someone needing to stop being so online and actually just step out for a minute and touch grass. If you go outside and just look around, you'll see tons of couples walking around holding hands and going on dates, hanging out, etc. And none of them are really what Mike would consider conventionally attractive. I don't know why Mike thinks that only attractive people do these things.
And the aesthetic revolution, the culmination of this idea that using biology and technology and all of our best efforts, that we're going to make for the purposes of this and my own personal view, at the very least adults, over 18, whatever the hell you brought with your biology, however you look, we're going to make it a little bit better, and then better, and then better, until you look like what you want. So your external presentation matches your internal representation of what you think you want to look like. And then those people will have a psychological healing that is unprecedented.
Okay, sure, this sounds super nice and all, but the issue is that these are not problems caused by how you look on the outside. It's rather about how you feel on the inside and you not being secure and confident enough with yourself. This is not something that can be fixed by just having a bunch of surgeries and becoming more attractive. The biggest example of this is Mike Israetel himself, as we will see in this video. Mike goes on and on about all the different surgeries he has had, the ones he wants to have in the future. No matter how successful he is, how rich he becomes, or how good his physique is, he just wants more and more surgeries. It's never enough. The reason for this is because, at least I believe this to be the case, that Mike is suffering from a severe case of body dysmorphia, and nothing he does to his body can ever fix this, because it's a mental thing rather than a physical appearance thing. The same is true for most people who get surgeries to become more attractive. It's because there are often underlying problems that they have, and therapy would be a much better solution for these people rather than just having a bunch of expensive and super risky surgeries so that you can look better.
And also, once you become much more attractive, you have to let it sink in. And the way I've been thinking about it is this. Let's say that between the age of 5, when you first found out that people thought you were ugly generally, and some people were nice enough not to say it, but many people were not nice enough to say it, And up until you're 35 and you finally get, let's just pretend it's just all one radical procedure together and you come out as a Barbie, you have an area under the curve of 30 years of f***ing trauma, basically. And you may need 30 years of really imbibing with your true deep self, this new reality. Because a lot of people, when they get an upgrade, they'll go, oh, yeah, people are like, oh my God, you look gorgeous. Like, oh, yeah, that's no big deal. And it's fine to say that for polite company, but even in their own heads, they'll try not to accept the fact that, no, they do belong now.
What the fuck is Mike talking about here? Is the implication then that ugly people do not belong in society until they become attractive? Ugly people are just so broken and the way to fix it is with surgery, and only then can they become accepted and belong to society? These are just genuinely such harmful ideas. I don't even know what to say. Also, I'm not sure why Mike is going on and on about ugly people having all these traumas. I think he's projecting his own issues and traumas on other attractive people, as if they too must have a bunch of traumas because of how they look. Here's a newsflash. Some people are what Mike might consider ugly or unattractive, and they don't care. They're happy in themselves. They don't depend upon others for external validation. Their self-worth isn't tied to other people or what society thinks of them. If you're secure in yourself, then you will be happy as a person, even if you are what other people might deem ugly. Like, again, you can find tons of people with all kinds of disabilities that make them what Mike would consider ugly, yet they're some of the happiest people around. Are they all just all delusional, should really be super traumatized, or what?
I think that acceptance takes a long time and is something optional. You can do it or you can not do it. Some people have made radical transformations in a variety of things and have never really let them sink in. And then they're making, I think, a gigantic mistake, because all of that stuff that happened to you in your childhood, that people said hateful things, you thought such hateful things about yourself, that's neural wiring. And you don't really, in most cases, I mean, unless you smash a ton of psychedelics or something, even that doesn't work all that well. You don't just rewire everything right up. Like, your brain doesn't work like a CPU where just, oh, just delete this part of the drive and install a new program. It takes a long time to upgrade. And so the benefits of looking substantially more attractive than you used to are not infinite. And you can absolutely collect very few of them, even if you look super attractive, if you resist really like floating in that wonderful sea of compliments and of looking yourself in the mirror and going, yeah, hell yeah, this is working.
Mike is clearly talking about himself here, even if he doesn't realize it. Just because you now look super attractive, that doesn't guarantee that you will be happy. Even if you're getting tons of compliment every time you step outside, even if you look in the mirror and think, holy shit, I'm so good looking, none of that is going to help you, because the issues are much deeper than that. They're not surface level issues that can be fixed by looking better. Mike, when he had the surgery to remove his love handles, did not fix any of his issues. If he did, then why would he be planning even more surgeries? Mike had a decent physique, probably better than 99% of the population before his surgeries, and yet that was not enough. He wants to get tons of surgeries, and all for what?
Would you say that they can experience tremendous healing? That means there's some kind of pre-assumption that those who are unattractive are broken. Mm-hmm. You believe that?
Interesting choice of words by you. Not wrong. Hurt. Psychologically hurt. And thus requiring healing. So,
and how are you landing there?
Yeah. I mean, so if you look at the literature on how the degree of...
I'll just throw a random non-related example of where my mind's going.
Sure.
There is this presumption that if you're not as wealthy as someone else, you're sadder, not as happy. But then when we look at basic needs being met, you have security, you have a home, whatever that magic number is. One documentary, one study will tell you some specific number, $70,000 earned a year. Happiness doesn't really change. Is this the same principle where like your looks really don't matter? Even in a situation where people say, oh, if I lose a limb, I'm going to be so much less happy. But then you have the same interviews with people who have lost a limb or are paraplegic or quadriplegic, and they say, yeah, my happiness level is the same.
Mm-hmm.
The host, Dr. Mike here, makes a really good point that Mike Israetel really can't answer, and I think it really highlights how Dr. Mike is not as stuck in this kind of weird online sphere and is actually a real doctor who is familiar with actual literature and stuff like that and what actually makes people happy. Money over a certain limit does not make people happy. The people who have the most money on the planet are for sure not the happiest one. The same thing really goes for attractiveness as well. People who are the happiest are rarely the super beautiful people you see on social media. In fact, in most cases, and Mike himself points this out at one point in the interview, they're often behind the scenes some of the most unhappy and depressed people. What is the solution for those people? Should they just become even more attractive, get more surgeries, or what? No, the real solution is to get therapy and not get a bunch of surgeries that focuses on external appearances.
So the question is, how do we play that out of actually solving this societal dilemma where people are judgmental of someone saying no fat chicks? Is it make people who are overweight lose weight, or adjusting how people that treat individuals who are overweight as that's the problem, not the weight?
I think this is another great point by Dr. Mike. Instead of telling ugly or fat people that they're broken and somehow need to be fixed, we should be fixing society and the way that those people are perceived in the first place.
For the record, I don't resonate much. And for people that do, I think it's wonderful. I never resonated much with the pride of having built my physique. Because here's the thing, like, I had a pretty cool physique when I was drug-free. I didn't care about physique then, I just did powerlifting. I got really strong. Was ever like proud that I built this strength? Like, I could tell you I was, but it's not an emotion I've really experienced much. And so I was never really a person in my physique who looked at it and had some kind of resonant thought in the background, flexing in the mirror, like, this is me, I did this.
Okay, so Mike doesn't actually enjoy the process of bodybuilding and improving his body by lifting. Maybe that's part of the issue then. Maybe if Mike was actually more focused on the process of improving, not for others or for some external validation reasons, but rather just for himself, to see himself improving and his numbers go up, be proud of how far you come and how much further you can go, to enjoy the struggle, then maybe he would be happier. This is why I think natural bodybuilding is so much more impressive and healthy than using steroids. But even then with steroids, at least you have to still put in some work. People at Olympia are still putting in a crazy amount of work at the gym, and you can still enjoy the process and be proud of the work you're doing. When you're just getting surgeries, there's nothing of that. There's no process. There's only the end point, the results. If you only focus on the end point and don't enjoy the journey there, then you're going to have big issues once you finally get there. You'll get no fulfillment and happiness. I mean, listen to this clip where Dr. Mike points this out.
That's it.
Does it impact the fact that you're a bodybuilder, but part of your body was no longer built by you, but by Dr. What's his last name?
Douglas Steinbreck.
Steinbreck. So
Probably
now,
one of us.
now
if you know what I mean.
is now your bodybuilding journey somewhat attributed to him?
Okay, Mike, so maybe the issue is this then. If you cannot yourself be proud of the process and what you have achieved, then there's clearly an issue you need to work on in therapy. The solution then isn't to just go for a bunch of surgeries as a way to fix whatever is broken within you.
I come from an Eastern meditative practice. Like, I do Sam Harris's Waking Up app and all that stuff, and I've been doing meditation for years. I don't have much of like a real ego left in there, man. Like, to be totally transparent. Like,
But the love handles feed the ego, or the lack of love handles. It seems like the love handles were blocking happiness.
No. I was perfectly happy. I just like wanted to look cooler. I think a lot.
Alright, what the hell is going on here? Firstly, the meditation Sam Harris bullshit you're following is clearly useless. It's doing nothing for you. Secondly, Mike is trying to convince us here that he was really happy, but he was just trying to look better. Like, this sounds like some massive copium. If you were really happy, then you would never be describing your body as you're doing now, as if certain parts of you were poisoning your body, causing you to dislike them so much as to have surgery to remove them. So it's funny that Mike says that he doesn't really have an ego, but then Dr. Mike just points out the contradiction. If you don't have an ego, then why the fuck do you have this entire love handle issue? Why would you need to remove those if you don't have an ego? It's clearly a huge ego thing for you with regards to how you look. The fact that Mike can't see how he's contradicting himself here is pretty funny for someone with a PhD.
Looking at my body from certain angles, I do this religiously daily anyway, and seeing that I don't have love handles, and seeing them no longer, to be artistically expressive here, not poisoning the rest of my physique anymore, is sublime. It's sublime. It's unbelievable.
Well, it might be as sublime as you say, but clearly not sublime enough where you're happy with how you look, so you want to plan a bunch of further surgeries.
Yeah. That comes in that, remember the margins conversation? Like, it's really close. When it's really close, we know what the surgery is going to get you. What we're testing it against is how much do you really want it? And that's not like an amount. They're not like 8 out of 10. It doesn't tell me much. That's a conversation. Why do you want it? What's going to happen? What if you never get the surgery? How are you going to feel?
Well, let me ask you that question. How would you feel if you never had your love handle surgery?
Totally fine. But like, I'd feel better if I had it. Yeah.
Based on what score, what factor? Like every day you wake up and you're like, less love handle, I'm 1 out of 10 more happier?
What kind of answer is this? How much do you give a shit about this? Obviously, someone with body dysmorphia is going to care a fuck ton about this because they're obsessed with their body and how they look. Is Mike stupid? It's a bit like asking someone who's addicted to heroin how much they want it, how much it matters to them. Like, you can't be taking into consideration how important something is to someone who's clearly struggling with some kind of mental health issue, addiction, or anything of that nature. Anyone who was secure in their own body and happy with themselves, if they looked like Mike Israetel, would for sure never get a bunch of surgeries to get rid of some loose skin and love handles.
In your factors that you take under consideration when telling people whether or not to go for surgery, you didn't touch on mental health at all. Is that a factor for you?
No, I did when I said like the some people aren't right in the head situation.
Well, meaning in terms of for the person to figure out, like, is it really your love handle that's bothering you, or is it the love handle is just the next thing, and then after the love handle?
What's really funny here is that Mike Israetel doesn't seem to understand that Dr. Mike is really just calling him out here on the contradictions. He's clearly hinting at the fact that Mike's love handle surgery thing is a mental health thing, and whenever one gets one thing fixed with surgery, there is just going to be a new issue that requires surgery. It's a never-ending story.
Your Renaissance periodization is a way for people to get healthy, and you're doing a lot of things that make you unhealthy. Mm-hmm. How does that vibe?
One of those is a company in which I help others. And the other thing is just me and what I do with myself. Mm-hmm. So like, it's tantamount to being like, so let me ask you a question. Do you drink?
Sure.
It's fucked up. You're a doctor. Alcohol is insanely deleterious. Mm-hmm. Trade off. Drinking is a sweet vibe.
Right. But if I have a patient who has 1 drink a week, I'm not going to dissuade them from drinking it. The impacts on their health are probably negligible.
Mm-hmm. And if I have people at RP ask me, should I get the surgery? I'd be like, there are very many other questions to ask before the answer to that is yes.
Okay, but maybe you should ask those questions to yourself first. Have you considered that? Or hell, even better, maybe you should get a therapist to ask you those questions before you start having a bunch of surgeries. Dr. Mike's point about how RP is about health and lifting and how Mike Israetel is taking a shortcut with the surgeries is a really good point, because it really highlights how this comes off to people who follow him and take his advice. If Mike himself cannot get a really good physique without a bunch of surgeries, then clearly the RP methods of lifting doesn't actually work as well as he would like them to. If it doesn't work for him, why would it work for other people? Saying that there's a difference between him as an individual and the company is just a cop-out. He is the face of the company. Hell, at this point, he is the company. Without him, there is basically no company.
And a clear need for surgery, because some people just have like a teeny bit of loose skin. I'm like, bro, you just keep going. And in 3 months,
but teeny bit of loose skin, someone can say that about you in your tricep issue.
Hmm?
Well, you were saying that you have
not loose skin, excess fat cells, yeah.
Well, they'll say tiny bit of fat as opposed to tiny bit of loose skin. Yeah. So how do you judge that?
It is physically painful to watch this.